Hi, my name is Michael Davenport. I am currently a strength and conditioning coach as well as a middle school baseball and wrestling coach and a high school football coach. In my experience, I have found it necessary to be able to provide my athletes with the most accurate and augmented feedback possible to increase their performance. Today we're going to look at a study that I conducted to be able to increase a specific football player's performance in the power clean and how it relates to his performance on the field. Arthroscopic anterior shoulder surgery has been shown in previous studies to decrease flexibility in the posterior deltoid and the subscapularis. We wanted to see what effect this has on the kinematics and kinetics of the power clean and how it affects the performance of the athlete. Now, previous studies have shown that the power clean has increased peak performance and force production in an anaerobic athlete. To help develop the skills for this specific football player that received arthroscopic anterior shoulder surgery, we wanted to look at the determining factors of his limb velocity and his shoulder joint angle through the catch and return phase of the power clean to be able to increase his performance in the power clean. To do this, we used the motion analysis software Canovia, which is a free software program that measures motion and also different angles and paths of motion, to be able to better assess the kinetics and kinematics in his power clean. The subject performed 3 successful power cleans from both sagittal plane views. Additionally, he also performed 3 successful power cleans at the frontal plane view. Sagittal plane views were used to assess the path that the elbow took during the catch and return phase of the power clean, and also it was used to assess limb velocity and shoulder joint angles through the mid portion and top position ranges of the lift. The frontal plane view was used to assess elbow vertical displacement and also shoulder joint angle through the internal adduction portion of the lift, which is the return to hang position. After analyzing the recorded video using Canova, we found that there were substantial differences between shoulder joint angles at the mid-range and top portion of the lift, as you can see in this video. Additionally, we found that there was a large difference in limb velocity between the injured and non-injured shoulder, and also that the path that the elbow took during the catch and return phase to hang was noticeably different between the injured and non-injured shoulders, such that the non-injured shoulder had a much shorter path of travel in which it traveled more vertically when it was descending, and the non-injured shoulder traveled more horizontally and fully abducted when performing the catch. Though the non-injured shoulder had a higher average limb velocity than the injured shoulder, bar path did not change noticeably during the entire lift. This could be attributed to the fact that the injured shoulder had a shorter path of travel, thus it was able to get into the catch position at the same time that the non-injured shoulder did. The non-injured shoulder had a longer path of travel compared to the injured shoulder. But they both were able to meet at the catch position at the same time, not changing the path of the bar. Taking the information that we found in this motion analysis of this athlete that received arthroscopic anterior shoulder surgery 1 year prior can help us devise a plan or a program to increase his posterior deltoid and subscapularis flexibility. We concluded that the shorter path of travel in both the catch and return phase were due to limited flexibility in the posterior shoulder. Also, this would have a great impact on limb velocity and the angle at which the shoulder fully abducts during full elbow flexion at the mid-range and top portion of the lift. By using a flexibility program designed by a strength and conditioning coach for this athlete, the athlete can thus increase his shoulder flexibility, which will assist him in his performance of the power clean. The more that the athlete is able to successfully perform the power clean in the kinetics and kinematics that should be performed during the power clean, for example, that the shoulder abduction during the catch and top position of the lift should be parallel to the ground at 90 degrees. This will help him be able to increase his load for the lift. If the athlete is able to increase the load that he's using during his weight training program, he'll be able to increase his peak power performance and force output, thus assisting him in his performance on the field. Since the power clean replicates sport-specific movements that are made during a football game, this will help the athlete increase his athletic ability and his performance on the field. Now we're going to take a look at some different shoulder flexibility exercises that this athlete can perform on a regular basis to be able to increase the flexibility in his shoulders, specifically posteriorly. If the athlete is able to increase the load that he's using during his weight training program, he'll be able to increase his peak power performance and force output, thus assisting him in his performance on the field. Since the power clean replicates sport-specific movements that are made during a football game, this will help the athlete increase his athletic ability and his performance on the field. Now we're going to take a look at some different shoulder flexibility exercises that this athlete can perform on a regular basis to be able to increase the flexibility in his shoulders, specifically posterior. The athlete already received 6 months of physical therapy. I chose exercises that he didn't regularly perform during his physical therapy program. The exercises that I chose for his flexibility program were specific to increasing the flexibility in the posterior part of his shoulder. I chose 4 different exercises, including passive internal rotation and external rotation using either a tube or any type of pole that is accessible. And I also chose to use the sleeper stretch and internal and external rotation of the shoulder at 90 degrees abduction while lying down. I'm going to demonstrate the passive internal and external rotation of the shoulder while standing with the use of the pole, PVC pipe, whatever the athlete was able to use during the time of this program. To externally rotate the shoulder at the standing position, the injured shoulder will take the PVC pipe, the pole, and will lock his elbow into the side and will push until full stretch externally has been reached, and he should feel a deep stretch in the posterior region of his shoulder. He held this position for 30 seconds and then would release. He performed 3 sets of 30 seconds every time he did the program. Internal rotation of the shoulder is performed with the pole behind the back, with the injured shoulder, all right, being pulled with the pole by the non-injured shoulder behind it. All right? The farther that the shoulder was able to move away from the body, the more stretch posteriorly was achieved. Again, he performed 3 sets of 30 seconds for this exercise every time he performed the routine. You want to stop? Because now the sleeper stretch that the athlete performed was him laying on his side, all right, with the shoulder abducted at 90 degrees, and he used his non-injured arm to gently push the wrist down until he felt a deep stretch in his injured shoulder, the posterior region, and he held this position for 30 seconds and then released. He did this for 3 sets of 30 seconds. After he performed this, he would move to a lying position where he would abduct the shoulder at 90 degrees, and he would externally rotate and internally rotate the shoulder, holding each position for 10 seconds before moving to the next position. He performed 3 sets of 10 at each of these positions every time he performed the routine. Going forward, strength and conditioning coaches can utilize the motion analysis that was conducted in this study to better assess the kinetics and kinematics of the power clean in athletes that have shoulder injuries. Also, the posterior shoulder flexibility program that I created can be a useful tool for strength and conditioning coaches to use with athletes that have any shoulder injuries, not just specifically football players or anaerobic athletes. I encourage all strength and conditioning coaches, as well as other coaches, to utilize the Canovia program that was used during this study. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. If you have any further questions, you could visit my website, and also you could follow me on Twitter at Coach Dav.